following is a presentation of the Liberty Flames Sports Network from Van Wagner. Welcome to the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report from Van Wagner on the Liberty Flames Sports Network. The Flames Clubhouse Report is brought to you by Fakes Jewelers. Since 1930, trusted for generations. Stay tuned for the latest views on Liberty Flames baseball, a look around the ASUN Conference, and we'll catch up with Flames head coach Scott Jackson. Now, here's the voice of Flames baseball, Nick Pierce.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report. Pleasure to talk Flames baseball with you again here this week. My name's Nick Pierce. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got a great show coming up for you as the Flames continue a 5-game homestand this weekend. Liberty welcoming in the Lipscomb Bisons to Worthington Field at Liberty Baseball Stadium. And it should be an exciting ASUN series as the Flames return to conference play, take on a North Division opponent, and look to build upon a 5-1 ASUN record. Coming up on this week's show, we'll chat with the head coach of the Flames, Scott Jackson, and we will also visit with Liberty catcher Gray Betts, who has been hot as a firecracker here of late. Betts on a 12-game hitting streak entering this weekend, and we saw Gray Betts come up with a triple and scored 3 runs against Wake Forest on Wednesday as the Flames knocked off the Demon Deacons 8-4 in their home ballpark. Liberty now 10-0 at home this season, and the Flames have won 12 straight home games going back to last year. That is the 5th longest winning streak in the country at the moment. So Liberty continues to play good baseball in Lynchburg. The Flames on the road this year, 8-8. And that's what you want to do, right? Defend the home turf, play 500 on the road. Usually you're going to end up in pretty good shape when you do that. Liberty 18-8 overall now on the season. And when you look at the official RPI rankings that were updated this week after the Wednesday ball game, Liberty checks in at number 35 in the official NCAA posting. And that is a strong RPI when you think about potential postseason play and getting onto the selection board in front of the committee as they put things together for the NCAA regionals. And certainly with 4 wins against the ACC now, 2 against North Carolina, 1 over Wake Forest, 1 over UVA. The Flames are starting to build a profile and a resume to be a postseason contender, and certainly a contender in the ASUN right now, either as the automatic qualifier or possibly an at-large team. But a lot of games left, 24 games left in the regular season, then conference tournament play, so a whole lot to be decided here over the next month and a half. But when you look at what the ball club's doing right now, the bats have certainly shown some promise. Cam Locklear has gone 8 for his last 18 over the last 5 ball games. 6 of his 8 hits during that stretch have been doubles, and he's had at least 1 double in each of his last 5 ball games. Had a big 2-run double against Wake on Wednesday night. The Flames bullpen continues to do stellar work as well. The pitching staff has been strong all season long, but when you start breaking down what the Flames bullpen has actually done, a 3.05 ERA in 26 ball games. Flames bullpen has posted an 8-2 record with 7 saves and 127 strikeouts over 112 innings. That will win you a lot of ball games. Spearheaded by David Erickson, the great work he's done, but also Landon Riley, who's yet to allow a run of any kind in 10 appearances this year. 11 1/3 innings scoreless on the mound. He's got a win and 4 saves as well. So if you want to win in college baseball, have yourself a strong bullpen. Get yourself some timely hitting. That's what the Flames have done here over the last month, a little over a month now, and that's led to their success. Also, talk about that Flames bullpen. Mason Meyer has been added to the fold down there. That was a move that was made this week by the coaching staff. Flames moved the left-hander from the starting weekend rotation down to the pen. And that's a move that we're going to ask Coach Jackson about a little bit later on, but we saw him come out of the pen against Wake Forest. Looked really comfortable coming in out of the bullpen. If you look at Mason's numbers in relief this season, 3 appearances, he's not allowed an earned run, 2 walks and 10 strikeouts over 9 2/3 innings. So might be a role that's a little bit better suited for him. Nick Willard, the freshman right-hander, will go to the weekend rotation. He's made 6 appearances, all in relief this season. He's given up 1 earned run over 8 2/3 innings. So that's one change that we'll keep our eyes on coming up here this weekend. And as I said, when we visit with the head coach, we'll ask him about it. Also, we'll get an update on Flames left-hander Joe Adamets this week. He has been sidelined with Tommy John surgery this year, and the Flames want to get their left-handed pitcher back on the mound coming up here this fall. So we'll get an update on how Joe is performing as well.
Now it's time for this week's ASUN Notebook.
Before we go to break, let's take a quick look around the rest of the ASUN Conference. And midweek action this week, a big win for Jacksonville. The Dolphins knocked off number 17 Florida State 8-7 on Tuesday. JU now 7-18 overall this season, but 2 of those 7 wins have come against Florida State and Florida. The Dolphins 0-6 in the ASUN. They will be at Florida Gulf Coast coming up this weekend. Elsewhere, Lipscomb, they split a pair of games at Belmont on Tuesday, lost the first game 5-4, hung on to win the second game 10-9 over Belmont. So the Bisons come into Lynchburg now 11-13 overall, 4-5 in the ASUN. And they find themselves trailing Liberty by 1 in the win column and by 4 in the loss column coming into this weekend. A .444 win percentage for Lipscomb. Obviously, the Bisons have 3 more games in hand than the Flames do, with Liberty's series at Kennesaw State last weekend getting knocked out by COVID-19. Speaking of KSU, the Owls at 4-2, just a game behind the Flames in the ASUN standings for the North. Bellarmine at 5-7. The Knights have been very competitive this year. They lost a tough one to Murray State on Tuesday this week in the midweek, 12-8. North Alabama, meanwhile, 3-6 in the league, but 4-22 overall. They were beaten by Alabama State 10-3 this past Tuesday. Flames will see the Lions next weekend on the road in Florence. In the South, it is Stetson leading the way at 5-1. The Hatters knocked off by 12th-ranked Florida, 7-6 the final score on Tuesday. But a big blow for the Hatters coming into this weekend. Their series against North Florida has been canceled after student athletes and staff within the program tested positive for COVID-19 on Wednesday. So after their game against Florida on Tuesday, they tested Wednesday and tested positive. So big blow for the Hatters. They will not get to play this weekend. Florida Gulf Coast 4-2 in the South, followed by North Florida at 3-3, and then again JU at 0-6. So everyone kind of dealing with this in their own time, I guess. Lipscomb had hit their program early in the season. They've already been through the COVID bout. Kennesaw State's going through it. They're coming out on the other side, and now Stetson heading into the quarantine as well. We'll be really glad when we're past all of this and back to normalcy, but certainly thankful for the baseball that we have in front of us coming up here this weekend. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, we will visit with Flames catcher Gray Betts. You're locked into this edition of the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report, presented by Fink's Jewelers from Van Wagner on the Liberty Flames Sports Network.
Back-to-back Cure Bowl champions.
Blow! The Flames won!
Ranked 17th in the nation. Wins over Virginia Tech and Syracuse.
The Flames wrap up the Hokies.
Flames Nation, we're just getting started. Be at Williams Stadium this fall for Liberty Flames football. Head coach Hugh Freeze and the Flames are looking to win their 3rd straight bowl game. Season tickets start at just $70, a savings of 51% from single game prices. Get yours now at lufootball.com. Now, back to the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report, presented by Fink's Jewelers.
Welcome back to this week's show. Nick Pierce with you, and time now to visit with Flames catcher Gray Betts, who's on a tear coming into this weekend series with Lipscomb. We'll talk about that here in just a bit as the hitting streak continues for you. Gray, looking at the numbers here over the last 10 ball games, though, 14 out of 35 at the plate and 6 extra base hits in that span as well. How well are you seeing the baseball right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've just really settled in the box. I feel really comfortable. More weather definitely helps. I think extra base hits have started to come, and it's funny because we talk about stats and stuff, and those first few games or through the first part of the season, I was looking at things and just had a lot of singles to show. But then these last few weeks, I've really ramped it up.
What do you think's led to that?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, honestly, my philosophy on hitting this year is trying to think as little about it as possible. The less I think about it, the better I do, which that's just worked for me this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because, last year was a little tough getting off to the slow start. And then this year it seemed like you were just kind of like gangbusters from the beginning, or at least it felt that way. How much different has the approach been for you to hitting this year than it was last year?
In terms of my in-game approach, I mean, it's the same thought process and everything, but I mean, the mental side of things is just where I've completely kind of flipped at 180. Whereas I was just overthinking a lot last year and looking too deep into things. Whereas this year I'm just trying to enjoy every day. And then I get in the box and compete once game time comes. And luckily that's just worked for me.
Gray, I've noticed you don't wear batting gloves out there. Has that always kind of been a thing for you? Is it just like a better feel, more comfort without them?
No, actually, that started back in the fall just because during a scrimmage in the fall, I wasn't paying attention and I was on deck to go up to hit. And then I don't remember who it was, but whoever was up to bat swung at the first pitch. And so I rushed to get all my gear and get in the box and just didn't put my batting gloves on and I actually hit a double that at bat. So I kind of rolled with that ever since.
You can't change it after that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what's led to all the extra base hits then, right? I mean, you go without the batting gloves and all of a sudden you're popping home runs and everything. Let's talk about that though. I mean, go back to the series at TCU. It's your first career home run. I mean, what was that feeling like?
It was really exciting, especially because I had family down there at that game. So my parents got to be there for that. My sister was there. So that was just a very cool experience.
Flames catcher Great Betts with us here on the Flames Clubhouse Report this week. You're also tasked with really kind of leading this pitching staff in a lot of ways. What's your preparation like each week as you prepare to work with different pitchers and then face different opponents as well?
I mean, it really is just built upon the idea of knowing our pitching staff and having an idea of what every guy can do and what they do well, their strengths and weaknesses. Because, I mean, in terms of my philosophy and stuff, I'm not too concerned about what the other team can do. Hitting's hard, and I'm more concerned about what our guys are doing and if they're executing their strengths. Because at the end of the day, you can't beat yourself. And so if we're challenging hitters and we're around the zone with our stuff, then it's probably going to be a good day.
Is it fun for you calling games, being a little more engaged and cerebral, I guess, in that regard?
Yes, definitely. It can definitely be a little bit more stressful at times, but I like the control it gives me. I like being able to kind of set the pace and think with the game.
What's Trevor DeLate been to this club on Fridays? I mean, a veteran guy coming in, it looks like he's really been kind of a tone setter.
I mean, we love Trevor. He's been awesome there. He's just the most mellow, consistent guy you could ask for. He does great Friday nights because we can just always count on him for a consistent start. But then in the locker room too, I mean, he's just a very veteran presence. He's always willing to put his arm around the younger guys and help them, teach them, coach them up. So he's been huge for us.
He's a quick worker too. I mean, he probably doesn't give you a whole lot of time to think back there.
Yeah. Sometimes I gotta slow him down without making him realize. But he definitely likes to work quick. But we like that on defense, especially as a position player. You like a guy that's gonna get in there and attack and work quick and give you quick innings.
Flames catcher Great Betts with us here. You get to work with a new starter this weekend, but a guy you've worked with already, Nick Willard, getting the ball on Saturday for his first start. How much have you talked to him yet at this point in the week, or when will you guys kind of get together and start kind of going over stuff?
I mean, I'll really get together with him just, day before, kind of day of, and just focus on how he feels and what feels good and what's working. But I mean, I'm not concerned with him. He's a very talented kid, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him go out there and compete on Saturday.
And then Trey Gibson, what's it like catching him? I mean, a guy that can, run the fastball up there, but then drop in that big tumbling curveball.
He's just another one. I mean, it just goes to show the amount of talent we have on the pitching staff this year. But I mean, I just love the bond that I've started to have with Trey this year. He definitely trusts me and I trust him. And that kid's he pitches with fire, and he really competes when he gets on the mound, which it's fun to watch. And you guys are seeing how challenging it can be to hit off him.
Yeah, for sure. Flames catcher Gray Betts joining us here on the Flames Clubhouse Report this week. I noticed you changed uniform numbers this year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or did it just kind of work out that way? Do you have an affinity for number 2?
No, I mean, it just kind of worked out that way. In all honesty, it was really just because I wanted a jersey that fit me a little bit better. 20 was an XL and 2 is a large, so I'm not swimming in my white home jersey anymore.
So you're not a big superstitious guy then, or as far as at least with numbers or anything like that?
I mean, originally I didn't want to change it in the 2020 season, but 2020 season, just because I came off a good year in 2019, but then I kind of got all thrown out the door with the hitting that I rolled through in 2020.
Well, let's look ahead here to this weekend and Lipscomb coming into town in the middle of a 5-game homestand, and then you've got 15 out of 20 at home here. That's the stretch you guys are playing in right now. How comforting is it to be in this home ballpark where you guys play very well and also having these ASUN games at home?
Yeah, I mean, home is awesome. It's always fun to be in your own ballpark and be comfortable. But I mean, I think our park really plays to our advantage just because our pitching staff, it allows them to just completely just attack hitters and focus on our game plan. Trevor Delate's a great example. I mean, early on in the season, the only way he was really giving up runs was home runs, and it's really hard to get a ball up out of the owl. So, I mean, and from a hitting standpoint, we obviously do have the power, but I mean, it plays to our strength there too, because we have a lot of quality at bats and work our way on base and then just kind of string together hits and find ways to score runs.
Last couple of things here, Gray. I asked you earlier about batting gloves. I meant to ask you as well about your catcher's mask. You go with that whole head shield, hockey style type mask. What makes you prefer that over the birdcage style, or is it just more protection, or what's the difference?
Personally, I feel like it's more protection. I feel like I don't get my bell rung nearly as bad when I take one off the mask with the hockey style. But then I also just like being able to put it on and leave it alone. With the traditional 2-piece, you can get caught up. It falls off when you're throwing down to second base. It'll come loose sometimes, and it can just be a pain to keep dealing with. So I like being able to just put it on and think about more important things during the game.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I've noticed with catchers, though, it doesn't matter how much gear you have, the ball or the bat is going to find you somewhere where you don't have it.
Yep.
You took a backswing, I think, at Duke, or when was that?
I was on the road at VCU. That one didn't feel too
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a rough life back there for catchers, but somebody's got to do it, and you're doing a great job at it. So appreciate you joining us here, and good luck to you coming up here this weekend against Lipscomb.
Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate it.
That's Flames catcher Gray Betts with us on this week's Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report presented by Fink's Jewelers. Stick around. When we come back, we'll have the Scott Jackson Report coming up next.
This broadcast of Liberty Flames Athletics is brought to you in part by Beacon Credit Union. Beacon Credit Union is a full-service financial institution offering a wide range of products and services. Having served Lynchburg and the surrounding area for over 75 years, our vision is to be the premier provider of quality financial services, a leader in our community, and the most progressive financial institution in our field. More information on Beacon Credit Union and all your banking needs is available online at mybcu.org. Equal housing lender, member NCUA.
Back to the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report, presented by Fink's Jewelers. This week's show continues with the thoughts of Liberty head baseball coach Scott Jackson, presented by Beacon Credit Union.
All right, Coach, looking ahead to this weekend, 3-game series coming up with the Lipscomb Bisons. 5-game homestand continues and got off to a good start this past Wednesday. Happy belated Easter as well. I know you guys had a couple of days off there to kind of get with family and stuff. How did you spend your Easter Sunday?
Man, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. It was one of those days that I hate to say this, but it kind of flashed me back to this time last year where you woke up and just didn't have anything on your plate. So it was actually youth turkey weekend, so I got to take Tyler, to do some turkey hunting. We heard some gobblers, but didn't get anything to shoot at, and just enjoyed spending Easter Sunday with my family, my in-laws, like we all should on a special day. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. It's a lot more to be thankful for here this year. We've got baseball in front of us, and still a whole other half of a season to go. And like I said, got off to a good start on Wednesday night. What was the preparation like heading into that game when you had a couple of extra days to work with specifically the hitters? Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that. It was good to get our guys in the box. We ran a bunch of our relievers out there for 15 to 20 pitch sets, trying to get some live looks for some of our hitters that haven't been in the box a while. Spent a lot of time on the field, emphasized the breaking ball a little bit, and just did some things a little bit different than we had in the past, always trying to kind of focus on your opponent and maybe prepare our guys for what we're going to see. But most of it's, internal here with us taking care of our players and their approach and trying to get them to, have a little bit more confidence and understand what they're doing at the plate. And spent a lot of time with that on Monday. And on Tuesday, we did some team defense stuff and really, emphasized some of the things that we're going to see from Lipscomb this weekend with their first and thirds and trying to control the running game and just trying to execute the defensive things that we need to do to control them. Visiting with the head coach of the Flames, Scott Jackson, here on the Clubhouse Report. And have you noticed this time of the year, is this when hitters start to get a little more dialed in and balls start to kind of jump off barrels a little bit more? Yes and no. Some years, I think sometimes the weather can kind of, slow that down a little bit. Maybe the ball's not carrying as much. I noticed, this week, Tuesday, when we were practicing, the ball just jumping off the bat and carrying a lot more than you're used to it carrying here. I thought it carried fairly well against Wake Forest. So the ball's jumping a little bit. Some guys are so slow starters, some guys aren't. I think there's a lot of factors there, but I've definitely noticed that from time to time in my career when the weather warms up, sometimes hitters get going, and we've got a couple guys with some history of doing that in our program. So, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and nobody hotter in the lineup right now than the duo of Will Wagner and Gray Betts. I mean, those guys are kind of carrying things right now. The hitting streak for Betts, the reach base streak for Will. How much have those guys meant to you here over the last couple of weeks in terms of being able to put some runs on the board? Yeah, they mean a lot to our lineup with their veteran approach. I mean, you always look forward to them coming to the plate. Gray's going to give you a gritty, tough at bat, and it's good to see him getting some extra base hits more than he has in the past. And with Will, you're just you're one swing away from the ball being able to leave the yard. He's a special player and he's got some strength, and I think his at bats have really been good for us over the last couple weeks. And performance aside, those kids, they mean a lot to our program just with their character and the way they go about their business. And I think the example that they set for other players in that locker room, just with their work ethic and just the baseball acumen that those two kids have, they're baseball players. And those are the type of kids you want to be around and coach, and they make everybody around them better, and I'm thankful that they're here. Turn our sights now to the pitching staff, and before we get into the current guys, I wanted to ask you about Joe Adamets. How is he doing and progressing with his rehab coming back from Tommy John? Yeah, that's it's good to see him out here throwing every day or every other day as it is right now. He's just got a wonderful spirit about him. He's fun to be around and always in a good mood, and one of those kids I look forward to seeing every day. This can be tough. I think he's through the toughest part, obviously, with his Tommy John rehab, not being able to throw and coming down here and just kind of getting treatment every day and doing his exercises. And now that he's got the ball in his hand, it's just good, I know, for him to feel like he's a lot more connected, and he's got stuff to do on the field and keeping a game chart for us in the dugout. He's a special kid and somebody that we just can't wait to give the ball back to when he's ready to get back on the mound and compete for us. Yeah, it'll be great to have him back in the fold next season. Looking at this year's guys, Mason Meyer moving down to the bullpen We talked a little bit about that after the ball game on Tuesday. I mean, he's looked really good in the 3 relief outings that he's had this year. I mean, I think he's given up, one unearned run in that stretch, if I remember right?
Yeah, he has. He's really, I think sometimes as a starter, you try to pace yourself a little bit. I know Mason's, he's mentioned that some, that, the bullpen mentality is a lot different. When you show up to the ballpark every day knowing you've got a chance to pitch, there's something to be said about that. He's a veteran guy and a guy that's kind of been in that routine for a long time now. You go back to 2019, so it's going on 3 years of, being a starter and, just to kind of change things up for him a little bit, give him a little bit different perspective, maybe not too much thought prior to the start or prior to that whole week leading up to the start. Just kind of refreshes him a little bit, and it was a move that I know Matt had kind of pondered a little bit, and then, after some discussion with Mason, he was all for it and actually very excited about it, and, I think it's something that can really, really help us, especially having a strike-throwing lefty out of that bullpen that, if you needed to get some length from him, you certainly could. We know he can give us, 6-7 innings. We've seen that out of him for certain in his career here. So I think it'll help us. I'm excited for Nick Willard to jump in that rotation this weekend and, see how it goes from there. I think our bullpen's, something that we don't mind using, and I think it'll give us a chance to be able to space things out from a midweek perspective and a weekend perspective, that it should work out, hopefully like we want it to.
Head coach of the Flames, Scott Jackson, with us. Last couple of things here as we get into the Lipscomb Bisons, team that I think we can agree is better than it looks as far as the win-loss record goes. Jeff Forehand does a great job out there coaching them. They've got some run producers. The preseason player of the year, Haddon Adams, Chaz Bertoloni, Chris Batchelor. I mean, all those guys can drive in runs in that lineup. Take me through the Bisons and what you've been able to make of them so far.
Well, I think you nailed it with, Jeff Forehand. I mean, they're going to be as good a coach team as we're going to be able to compete against this year. So that's the first box you got to check, and you got to look at what they do on the bases. And he's very, very good with the running game and being able to exploit some of those things that that some teams aren't willing to gamble with. And so he's very aggressive in that capacity. And so when you start there, you got to have the athletes to do it, and they do. They've got Haddon Adams and Maddox Houghton and some of those guys that are really table setters, if you will, for them. Probably not having the year that they would want to have offensively, but you can throw the numbers out the door. I think when you're fighting for conference, placing and conference, just where you're going to finish. And this is a road series for them. Jeff does a great job of preparing those guys to have that mentality and that toughness. So when they get in here and those guys can set the table, and you've got Bertolani and you've got Batchelor, and you got some of those stronger guys in their lineup. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for us. COVID's definitely affected their program, just trying to get out of the gate, similar to, the Wake Forest start that they had. I know that they played some weekends shorthanded. I know Lipscomb's had to do the same thing, sometimes no games at all with the weekend off, and that really throws your rhythm off. And in our sport, your rhythm's important to be able to stay with what you're trying to do and get in the batter's box and not have too much time in between. So you could throw the numbers out the door, the record, the batting averages, and all that. I think they're as good of a team as we're going to face in our conference this year, and we're looking forward to the challenge and going to have to play well to get out of there with a series win.
All right, Coach, appreciate the time, and best of luck coming up here this weekend.
All right, appreciate you, Nick.
As always, the thoughts of Flames head baseball coach Scott Jackson are brought to you by Beacon Credit Union. All right, looking ahead here to the weekend series, it's Liberty and Lipscomb coming up this weekend. 3-game set from Worthington Field at Liberty Baseball Stadium. Looking to the starting pitching matchup for this weekend, Max Habiger will go for the Bisons on Friday night, the left-hander so far this season. 6 appearances, 5 starts. He's 1-4 with a 5.70 ERA. Habiger will be opposed by Liberty left-hander Trevor DeLate. So a couple of southpaws on Friday night. That's always fun. DeLate 3-1 in 7 starts with a 2.87 earned run average. Saturday matchup, a lefty for Lipscomb, Logan Van Treck. 6 starts this season, 2-0 record with a 2.78 earned run average. He'll be opposed by Liberty right-hander Nick Willard on Saturday. Freshman making his first career start. 6 appearances for Willard out of the bullpen, however. No record with a 1.04 ERA. Then on Sunday, Lipscomb is yet to announce a starter. The Flames, of course, will go with the big right-hander Trey Gibson, 4-3 with a 4.31 ERA in 7 starts. All 3 games this weekend will be televised on ESPN+, and live radio coverage will be available to you on 90.9 FM in Lynchburg, Virginia, and also streaming online at libertyflames.com. Live pregame coverage will start 25 minutes before first pitch. So a 6 o'clock ball game coming up on Friday night, 4 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. We hope you will join us all weekend long. And, of course, stay tuned to libertyflames.com and also on Twitter at Liberty Baseball and on Facebook at Liberty Flames Baseball for updates on the weather. We may be skirting around some showers this weekend, so we'll keep you updated on everything as far as game times and whatever potential schedule changes may be out there. We don't know yet, but right now everything is on for all 3 days coming up here this weekend. So that will wrap it up for us on this week's edition of the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report, once again presented by Finks Jewelers. I want to thank our guests, the head coach, Scott Jackson, also catcher Gray Betts, for joining us here this week. Until next time, my name is Nick Pierce, saying enjoy the baseball, and so long, everybody.
You've been listening to the Liberty Flames Clubhouse Report, presented by Finks Jewelers. For more on Flames baseball, check out libertyflames.com. You can also follow the team on Twitter and Instagram at Liberty Baseball and on Facebook at Liberty Flames Baseball. The Flames Clubhouse Report is an exclusive presentation from Van Wagner on the Liberty Flames Sports Network.